Hi there, I'm Lauren Hepler, Associate Editor of GreenBiz.com. Here in the GreenBiz studio, I am joined by Tommy Hayes, who is the Transportation Policy Manager for Lyft. So Tommy, what brings you here? I understand you just got out of a session.
Yeah, I was delighted to be part of the Connected Transportation panel with a few folks from transit agencies as well as the Rocky Mountain Institute, and I definitely learned a lot. I think I learned more than I taught anybody, which was great because we were having a conversation about kind of the many different modes of transportation and how are they all fitting together, what does connected mean, and at Lyft we really see ourselves as part of an ecosystem of mobility options, and it's a surprise to some that we don't think Lyft should be the transportation choice for every ride, but rather if people have access to good transit and to other modes like walking, biking, car share, we can start to get people out of their cars, stopping, driving alone, and that's a lot more sustainable from a emission standpoint and resource standpoint.
Right. And so are you guys right now at the point where you're looking to gather very specific data on these use patterns and how people actually want to utilize Lyft in their day-to-day lives?
Yeah, I mean, data's it's a big topic right now because we're learning a ton from all these technologies that, ours included, that are starting to reveal people's preferences, people's travel behaviors and patterns. And so, one of the things that we noticed, behavior-wise, was in fact that a really high percentage of Lyft rides either began or ended at a transit stop, suggesting that people are using Lyft as a complement to transit, as a last mile solution. And so as we're just, at the beginning, this company's, 3 years old, we're just beginning to learn what our patterns kind of look like and how we can nudge them for the most sustainable kind of outcomes. It's exciting.
Right. So what sorts of opportunities when you're working with potentially a public transit agency or some other transportation authority, what are the public-private opportunities there? I'm sure that's an area in flux, but...
Yeah, we talked about that today for sure. I think we're really starting to see innovation in the public-private partnership world alone, and I think perhaps as a surprise to some, we're getting a lot of interest from the transit agencies who say, hey, we see you guys as a really complementary addition to this system, and we would love to figure out how do we kind of share the roads and kind of make the streets inviting and safe for all users, and begin to change the way that people get from A to B, whether that's their commute, and that could be something as simple as like a Lyft working with an employer to say, how can we incentivize somebody to take the train most of the way to work, but to take a Lyft for that last mile and a half gap that prevents them from wanting to do that multimodal trip currently, and getting kind of savvy with people's pocketbooks and preferences, and making an appealing and affordable alternative option to driving alone.
Right. And to that end, in terms of sort of the dark green potential for shared mobility, just curious sort of what may be on the horizon in terms of thinking about integration of electric vehicles. Obviously, you guys are already working in carpooling, but what are you excited about down the road?
Yeah, and I think Verge is a great place to get even more excited about this because there's so many of the automakers. I saw ChargePoint over here, and our fleet, quote unquote, are just everyday people's cars, and so it's not kind of a stock of vehicles that we own, but we do notice that Lyft drivers tend to be very fuel efficient, and they start to have this new relationship to driving that shows them what their kind of fuel costs are, and so I think you're going to see us and probably others get really excited about working with the OEMs and environmental groups to say, how can we nudge this community to be in the most clean vehicles possible, and working together to structure perhaps ways that people can get into those vehicles to clean up our air.
Yeah, definitely. Well, lots to stay tuned for there. Thank you very much for joining us, Tommy Hayes from Lyft. And again, I'm Lauren Hepler at GreenBiz Studio.
Thanks, Lauren.